Well, despite our best intentions, we often fall into habits and relationships that may not be so healthy.
Motivational, humorous speaker Amy D is here to talk about recognizing and avoiding mind traps that can sabotage our compassion. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. Great to be here.
I love the subject, but I have no idea where you're going with this one today.
Yeah. So we all like to believe that we think really realistically, and that when we consider an issue, we weigh it out very objectively, and then we come to these logical conclusions. Not true. The truth is that we're not as smart as we think we are, and that even though our brains are really powerful, we have some limitations. And it turns out that we are very prone to biases, these mind traps, many of them. And these biases, these mind traps, really alter how we think so that we can make poor decisions and that we can, misjudge people. So the biases are actually called cognitive biases. Behavioral scientists call them cognitive biases. And we all do them. It doesn't matter if you're young or old. It doesn't matter if you're educated or uneducated. It's just a part of how we think.
Can I interrupt you because you're using a lot of big words?
Okay.
What is a cognitive bias?
So cognitive is thinking, and a bias is a prejudice. So it's a mind trap. It's a way that we think. It alters the way that we think. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so I think in understanding some of these cognitive biases or these mind traps, it doesn't mean that you become immune to them. But what I hope is that you sit back and maybe you consider another person's point of view, or maybe you're a little bit slower to judge someone, and hopefully it increases your compassion. So I thought we'd just talk about a couple of them today.
Do you think this is also what they kind of call like making that emotional decision?
Oh,
because
yeah.
It's almost like you react right away instead of taking time to stop and think and then react.
It is so true, and the cognitive biases are just sort of built in. They just really make sense. We could talk a little bit about that too. But the first one I wanted to talk about is, and I bet we'll all recognize this, it's called fundamental attribution error, which is a really big word. And it sounds kind of crazy, but this is, so every single day as we go through our day, we have to explain and interpret people's behavior and our own behavior. Mm-hmm. So fundamental attribution error is when we watch someone else do something and we tend to interpret attribute their behavior to their personality rather than to the situation. So here's an example. You're driving down the road, someone comes in front of you, cuts you off and just goes, screaming down the road. And what's the first thing you think? What a jerk.
What a jerk.
What a jerk. Yeah.
A few shaking fists.
Exactly.
Really? You need to go in front of me that fast?
And so the truth is, we don't know why that person did it. Mm-hmm. That person could be on their way to a hospital to see someone, who's in trouble. So we don't know that. But we tend to attribute to their personality. Say we're someplace and we see a friend and we wave to a friend and the friend doesn't wave back. And immediately, instead of attributing it to a situation, we tend to attribute it to their personality.
Right.
Conversely, when it comes to us, when we have a behavior, we tend to attribute it overly to the situation. We give ourselves a break. So in other words, if I'm late, it's because I'm caught in traffic. But if you're late, it's because you have, poor time habits, right?
Yeah.
Or if I didn't do the dishes, it's because I was tired. But if you didn't do the dishes, it's because you're lazy, right? So it's just what we do. Does it make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. And I know we have a lot more to cover, so we'll take a quick break and come right back to this.